What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back at you today with more Danmachi. Today we're talking about 7th Zone, but we're talking about Thunder Zone, because honestly my Light Zone team, even though it A-passed, it should have been an easy S clear, because my team is off the chain. In fact, if I'm going to talk about that team, I'm going to talk about it once I finally, hopefully, MLB Otaro, which is kind of one of my big goals this evening. But first, let's talk about the Thunder team, because I would imagine your Thunder team probably looks a little bit like mine. Now, one little caveat here is, obviously you have to use Earth units. Everybody else is going to have a crazy amount of difficulty overcoming, the buffs that the Dragon's going to put on himself. I am, however, I replaced Alan on this team. If you guys have watched any of the live streams or anything like that, we've been using Alan, and I replaced him with Goblin Slayer, only because I really think Goblin Slayer can do this above all else. So let's go ahead and go into battle here, and let's talk about this. And before I go into this, I do want to preface this by saying I am using Galamus in front of Line, only because I firmly feel like we need to make sure we can survive this first and foremost. And Haruhime has no problem surviving this. Everybody else has some issues, so we're going to use Galamus first. Now, that is going to put a bit of a strain on our units, and I'll show you why here in a moment. But first, well, I'll show you why right now. Attack type all in single targets. That means when Haruhime comes up, we're going to have to do Sheikah absolutely first to make sure we don't lose that protection. I am going to go ahead and do our debuff with Goblin Slayer first, and then we're going to do our buff with Yuri and our buff with Aisha. Aisha is going to kind of be the cornerstone of this team, and I'll show you why here in just a few minutes. But first things first, let's get down to it. Okay? Alright, so Line is up next. We're going to go ahead and do her 33% SA gauge. And of course, the one thing I didn't mention is everybody does have the stun resistant anklets. You remember when this first came out, they would seal and stun? Thankfully, they've corrected that. They only stun now. So you can use a stun anklet free and clear. You don't have to fart around with it. You don't have to use some of the weaker assists. You can kind of go full on with this. So it does make it a little bit easier, and the units aren't quite as hefty. He does have 8 million points, but we're going to whittle away on that really, really, really quickly. Okay? Turn 2 with Goblin Slayer. Now, Goblin Slayer's second maneuver here is all target and single target 20%. We're not going to use that. We're going to use a base attack basically until we've got the buffs and stuff put in place that we need. So we're going to use that for now. And then we're going to do the debuff with Yuri, and we're going to do Geosurge with Aisha. Now, Aisha's going to spam Geosurge until she gets an SA, and then she's going to spam Geosurge again. The reason that we're going to do that is because Aisha, basically, I have on her that new Hestia assist. I finally MLB'd that Hestia assist, but that Hestia assist gives her basically all the MP she could ever want. She's never going to run out of MP. So we're just spamming with Aisha pretty much. Now, there is something to be said for possibly changing that up and using Artemis on Aisha and that assist on Goblin Slayer, but I want to make sure that Aisha does not run out of MP. And with this being 102 cost, she could run out really fast. So I don't want that to happen. We could do this strength buff remover, but I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that we can just spam Geosurge as much as possible. Okay? So because of that, we're going to use this arrangement. Okay? There we go. And that is very unfortunate. Aisha is now in the danger zone, and if we don't do something quick, she could croak. I'm going to go back to using base attacks with Yuri as well, basically until Haruhime gets her SA off, which is going to be a couple of turns. So remember I said on turn 3, we've got the buff for Galamus is going to expire. We need to keep that in place. I guess if we lose it, it's not the worst thing ever, but it's not something we want to lose. So the one thing I will say about this is there's a high possibility. If he attacks Aisha right here, I think Aisha's done. So hopefully he'll attack everybody else and see Aisha's done. That is unfortunate. That is a total possibility with the team that I've built. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to go back out here. We're going to quit. And remember I said we got to use Gallimimus first. Gallimimus is basically the cornerstone to survival in these first 4 turns. Now, once again, if his buff disappears, we can always use Goblin Slayers. It's not as heavy, but it basically it's just keeping us alive. Like, we're relying on that to keep us alive. Plus, it does some debuffing that we desperately need in order to be able to produce damage on our unit here. So we're going to try this all over again and see what we do. Now, this turn I might try something different. I might try to do Akane instead of... But a lot of it's going to come down to how often our units are attacked. And preferably what you'd like to see is that our sack units get attacked, but sometimes that's not the way it works out. So we're going to do this. We might have to rely on Goblin Slayer's skill. You know, we'd prefer to have the 35%, but a lot of it's going to come down to what we see in this turn. So, perfect. On this turn, I can go ahead and do Yosuga, and I can continue that 35%. Actually, you know what? You know, we'll go crazy. We'll get crazy. We'll use Akane. That'll reduce the damage incoming. I'm going to go down to using basic attacks with this. And we're going to go ahead and, on the next turn, Goblin Slayer is going to put that resistance back on us. Now, it is a resistance buff. That is one thing I do want to mention here. It is a resistance buff. And also worth mentioning, and I forgot to mention this before, if Line did her counter, we'll be in good shape. Which she didn't do. So Line didn't counter, so we're going to be okay. We're just going to use Goblin Slayers instead. Instead of 35%, we'll have 20%. This is still easily survivable. It's not the end of the world. Though, when it comes to the critical rate, penetration rate, and dark resist down, I do want to make sure that is extended. So we're going to do Yosuga on this turn, and then next turn, we'll get back into doing some basic attacks. All right. And basically the main thing here is these first few turns are making sure you survive. Survivability is critical at this juncture. Absolutely critical. All right. Let me just check something here real quick. I think that's just... It's physical resist down 50%. So we're going to wait for that to go off. Until then, we're going to do basic attacks with Goblin Slayer and Yuri. And then when Yuri can get his SI off here in a couple of turns... Then we'll go back to doing some hardcore attacking with Goblin Slayer and Yuri. So here we go. That is excellent. Keep going. And the physical resistance, I haven't tried doing Aisha without the physical resistance. I guess I might try that later on. But this is just the methodology that I found that works extremely well without question or doubt. So, and you want to make sare that you have Haruhime able to do Yosuga when you do Yuri's buff, Yuri's debuff. You need that in place because that the thing you always want to pay attention to. This physical resistance down 50% is a turn-based resistance. Some of them don't say 50%; they just physical resistance down. That is extremely critical in notation there. So Haruhime using Yosuga can extend that. So now we're going to go back in and we're going to start doing some serious attacks. I don't know why Aisha wasn't doing her main attacks. At some point that got muddled. But I don't think it's really going to change anything. I hope not, at least. And then after this, every single essay we get, which is going to be frequent, every single essay we get is going to be Aisha's. Every single one of them. I would prefer to do double essays here, but this is kind of the turning point of the match. This is where attacks become absolutely critical to get off in a timely fashion. Alright. So you'll notice that despite everything, we're not taking a crazy amount of damage. I'm going to go ahead and do Sheikah on this turn. I don't think... Okay. Received a single target damage minus... Yeah. So I do need to make sure that I'm doing Yosuga on the same turn that I'm doing Haruhime's essay. That's going to be really critical. So we're going to kind of stretch this out a little bit. That is going to stretch us a little thin at times, but I think this is completely doable. I think. Emphasis on I think. Alright. There we go. Alright. So we're starting to wear him down. We're not quite at half health, but we're close to half turn. Now, I do want to preface here, and I do want to say most assuredly and to reassure you watching this that our intent and our goal here is absolutely not to A or even S clear this. Our goal is simply to get past this. That's it. That's why I'm using Goblin Slayer. And if we look at the stats here, you'll notice that Dark is down 45%. That's usually going to be at 65% because he's going to buff all those other skills up. Earth is down 90%, and that's why we're basically relying on Aisha to produce that. Plus that 50% down for physical is going to make a huge difference. So all these debuffs are extremely critical. Now the 1 unit resistance for 2 turns, that is... Let's see here. Yeah, 1 unit resistance, 25% down for 2 turns. That is going to be extraordinarily important. Extraordinarily important. So we're going to do Sheikah on this turn, and we're going to try to extend that out one more time. And we got to pay close attention here. We need to balance this out so that we never run out of that buff. Now, yeah, so in this turn we're going to do... Well, actually, you know what we could do? We could do Sheikah again on this turn, so that we have more Yosuga power. Because physical resist down 25% is coming back on the next turn when Aisha does her SA. So we're going to do this one more time and give ourselves a little bit more of a window for that buff and debuff. So we're not doing crazy damage with everybody else, but we are definitely getting through this. That's the important part. It's not the cleanest run, and I said that from the beginning. This is not going to be the optimal situation, but this I think is the situation that's going to closely resemble what most people watching this video are probably going to experience. I could show you my whale team for Dark, but you guys are going to be bored stiff by that because it is simply just not interesting to the vast majority of y'all out there. Most people are free to play, and most people are going to want to see what a free to play team could do. So this is, I think, more representative of what you guys can experience. Although I'll be the first to admit, you guys eat me alive for this every time. I did buy a bond of Goblin Slayer. I think I bought 2 or 3 bonds of Goblin Slayer just because I couldn't get them. But that isn't to say you can't have MLB units when you're free to play. Like I have a number of MLB units from my free to play days. So basically with this, you just want to pick a good free to play MLB that has debuffs, that has the effects you need, and can attack with a lot of power. Goblin Slayer just happens to be that for me. There's a couple other units out there that are really good fits. And if you can't, then add other debuffs to your stack. You may not be able to use Line A. You may not be able to use Galamus. You may have to use other units. But you can build a good stack that can then defend against this. Or in this situation, if I didn't have Galamus, I could throw Haruhime in the front and then rely on Goblin Slayer as my final unit coming in. Either way, that's possible. The only reason I did it this way is because I wanted Goblin Slayer to produce a little more damage, and I put the assist on him. They gave him 20% extra physical. So it's all a matter of decisions. That does mean that I did put the assist that debuffs dark damage on Yuri, but that's fine. Yuri's not really a damage producer. He's kind of mostly there for his debuff, but you know what little damage he can produce, is going to be welcome. All right. Yeah, see, he's just not really producing at any kind of level we would really hope to maintain. So we're going to go back and do Geosurge. And I'm going to do Sheikah on this turn. Now, the 25%, yeah. Where is it? 1 unit resist 25%. That's 2 turns. So we're good on that front. I can do Sheikah on this turn and do Yosuga on the next turn. I just don't want to run into this situation where we've got a Sheikah 2 turns and we don't have an SA incoming. That is like the worst possible scenario. So, here we go. Alright, the other half of that being, I notice we're taking a lot of damage. So, you know what we're missing? You know why we're not getting that? We're missing Sweeping Swap. But I'm going to try to continue without that. I did let that expire, and that was an accident. So, the goal is not to let that expire, but I think we're in good shape. I don't think we have to worry about that. 1 unit resist is about to expire. Physical resist is about to expire, but I'm going to go ahead and do Yosuga on this turn, even though I do have a buff incoming. I don't want anything else to expire. I could reset it, but I really don't think it's... I don't think it's necessary at this juncture. I don't believe it's mandatory. So we're in good shape right now. So we've got another SA coming in. We're going to do Sheikah on this turn. Oh, you know what? I messed up hard here. I really, really, really needed Yosuga on this turn. I even said that earlier in the match. So this next round before the SA might be a little bit rugged. Might be. Let's see what happens here. So, decent hit. Once again, not groundbreaking. Ooh. Might have to reinstate that buff. I might have to do that. All right, Yosuga on this turn. Do we still have one turn? Yeah, 1 unit resistance, 25% down. So let's do that. And now we're kind of out of the loop on these things. Now, we did run out of attack power with both Goblin Slayer and Yuri. That is fine. We have 1.4 million left to do, and we've got 2 SAs, I believe, incoming on the dragon, so we're going to be good to go. We're going to do basic attacks with them, and then single target 25% down. I'm going to have to do Sheikah on this turn, and then we're going to have to do SAs on next turn, so... Let's go ahead and do this. Let's see what happens here. All right. So even though we're on turn 18, I still feel like we're in a good position. We're going to do Yosuga here. 1 unit resistance still 25% down. We're going to basically reinstate that. Physical resistance is still down. Dark resistance is still down. Everything is still good. So we have one more SA after this. And we should be set after that. So let's go ahead and do Yosuga on this turn. See where this gets us. That final SA is what's going to basically be the nail in the coffin. Get him, girl. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, I did try this with Alan, but my Alan is only +2. He didn't produce what I needed him to produce. And we usually were where we are right now at the end of a match. So... I'm hoping, emphasis on hoping here, Goblin Slayer is going to kind of be the thing that's going to kick that over. Now, next turn is the critical one. Next turn is the one where we are absolutely going to have to finish this off. Aisha's really got to produce for us here. Do not die, girl. All right. So we have 313k. I'm going to go ahead and do an attack with Haruhime. And it is what it is. Now, there might have been some benefit to maybe saving and doing a double SA with Goblin Slayer here at the end. I haven't tried that, but I really just don't want to mess with a recipe that I know is going to succeed. Bam. I mean, by the skin of our teeth. Let's not beat around the bush. That was a very close finish. Very close finish. But my Aisha's only +1. If Aisha was +2, we'd be in really, really good standing. So if your Aisha's +2, or if you can maybe make a Prism Bond happen or something like that, you'll be in good shape. But this is just an example of a team you could build that would be able to make this occur. This is not the cleanest run. This is not the best run. But it's a run that works. Now, it is worth noting here, guys. It is worth noting. If I go here to Guild, you do want to, at minimum... Oh, we got 5 hours for that. That was really good. Awesome. I like that. It is worth noting here, guys. You do want to run this, and you do want to run... I already did my normal runs. You do want to do your normal runs because that is actually going to get you some coins. So if you don't do your normal runs, you're only hurting yourself. Normal runs are fairly easy. Like, even the team with Alan was able to auto a normal run for an S clear. So you should be fine with that, kind of a crummy team like that. Make sure you do your normals. Make sure you do your hards. But if you need help with the very hards, hopefully this gives you some ideas. Main thing is you want to survive the first 4 turns before Haruhime comes in, or throw Haruhime in there and then hope that your other units can produce damage. It's a gamble. It's a definite gamble. And the more I think about it, probably putting Goblin Slayer onto the that last rotation might be better, but decisions were made. So good luck. Let me know what y'all thought in the comments section down below. Hopefully this helps some of y'all out. This helped you guys kind of start to wrap your mind around the kind of builds you need in order to beat this that aren't MLB, like whale teams. Let me know. But stun resistance, you need stun anklets. Absolutely 100%. Do not skimp on that. Make sure you have at least one really good earth hitter, one really good debuffer, and then one really good unit from another team that is then, you've got enough debuffing that they can actually produce damage like Goblin Slayer was producing. And then, of course, Haruhime. Now, if your Haruhime is not MLB, obviously you wouldn't want her on the end like mine was. Your last unit should be your strongest, guaranteed, survivable unit. Haruhime didn't have any real defenses there for at least till... Well, I don't think I did the buff with the Goblin Slayer, so... Or maybe I did it early. I don't know. Anyway, either way, I don't even remember my own run at this point. But survive those first few runs, get everybody in there. Once the debuffs are in play, you're good to go for the rest of the run. You just need to make sure you survive those first few, and you will be just fine. Now, I'm sure some people are going to pick this apart. Feel free, because the more that we kind of, more or less, I hate to put it this way, but crowdsource solutions to this, the better this is going to be for everybody else in the community. So, good luck to you guys. Also, go to your Gacha ticket quest. I never really made a video about it, but free 2-star tickets. Go do it. That's the video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow my Birdman. Hit me up at Booker. I'll be back at you guys with Record Buster, which we haven't yet talked about soon.